past few months have been a little bit challenging for me. Not just because of the coronavirus pandemic, although that was tough seeing everything kind of shut down and NASCAR had to shut down as well. It was nice to see that they got restarted with iRacing in that time. But over the past few weeks, I think this highlights something that happened a few months ago during iRacing. And that was when Kyle Larson used a racial slur on an iRacing platform, and it was broadcast through Twitch. Now, at that time, everybody that knew about it, and those that are also fans of NASCAR, like friends of mine, they did reach out to me. And it was a little awkward at first because I'm just like, okay, like maybe it's because I'm like the only black girl here that watches NASCAR that they're reaching out and asking me that. But the thing is, that's exactly what they're asking. And I 100% appreciated that because they wanted to know what it was like for me. And I wasn't used to that. Typically, I like to be the one asking questions, like what is it like to be the reporter? What is it like to, be at the racetrack? What is it like to watch the race from the grandstands? What is it like to work for NASCAR? What is it like to be in the pits? Like all these questions about NASCAR, that are outside of myself that I wanted to know. And for once, people were asking me. I was never really looking forward to that or expecting that, but I feel like now more than ever, people are starting to ask me. So I decided to take my time today and actually sit and answer the question that I posed for myself. And that is, what is it like being an African American female that likes NASCAR?
Our country is in pain, and people are justifiably angry. Demand to be heard. The black community and all people of color have suffered in our country.
Can no longer be ignored.
The process begins with us listening
And learning.
because understanding the problem
Is the first step in fixing it.
We are committed to listening with empathy and with an open heart to better educate ourselves.
We will use this education to
And everyone please stand by for a message from NASCAR President Steve Phelps.
Listen, anybody wants to come at me with the old heritage, not hate argument when it comes to the stars and bars. You don't come at me about heritage, about this flag. You don't come at me about what this flag means. You're talking to a direct descendant slave. I'm sitting on the coast of North.
You'll always remember your very first race. I remember mine. It was here in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the fall of 2018. I took my uncle after winning passes at work. I had never been to a race before. I know that he had. He was the NASCAR fan in the family. I remember having to prepare myself in the case that I saw the Confederate flag. Like, what was I gonna do? And I was ready to, I guess, deal with the feelings if in case I did see it. And it so happens that that's the very first thing that I saw after we pulled up. It was flying next to the spot that we were at. Now, every time I see that flag, I can tell you that I can pretty much just hear the N-word. To me, that flag just says, if I could give it a voice, that flag says, get. Now, when I see it, I feel anger, I feel inferior, I don't feel welcome, and I know that it's because I was taught that the Confederate flag is a symbol of slavery, hatred. It's also a symbol of the myth of the lost cause, the KKK. So, racism. Now, the unfortunate thing is that I had to overcome my feelings about that flag and deal with the feelings that I felt upon seeing that flag. I don't want to have to do that every single time that I go to a race. I don't necessarily feel those feelings as intense as I did before. I was able to move past a lot of that, but that's not the same for a lot of people. In fact, I've tried to get my brother involved and come to a race with me, and he told me that he was not going to support a sport that allowed for the Confederate flag to be flown on its premises. And I said, that's okay. I understood. Not everybody has the ability or wants to have to move past those feelings. And now I feel like a weight's been lifted to where people do not have to do that. Being a black female NASCAR fan means that when I speak on NASCAR and tell people that I'm a fan, I get looked at funny. I get looked at a little bit differently. And usually I could see it in people's reactions when they first hear it. The looks that I get are looks of confusion or shock. Sometimes people don't believe it. I get challenged, but usually I get challenged by people that don't even know that much about the sport. They'll ask me questions like, okay, who drives the M&M's car? Everybody knows that, Kyle Busch. People make the assumption that I must have a crush on a driver, which that's not anywhere near the truth. To be honest, for the first 6 months, I had no idea what these drivers looked like. All I knew was the number of the car, the name, and what the car looked like. That's it. I knew what Joey Logano looked like, though. That was my driver, but that's it. And no, I didn't have a crush on him. Still don't. Part of being a black female NASCAR fan means that as somebody that wants a future in NASCAR, somebody that wants to be on the broadcasting part of it all, I've noticed that there isn't exactly representation for me. I look up to people like Bob Pockrass, Jamie Little, Shannon Spake, Alex Weaver, pretty much anybody that's in the press box, Jeff Gordon, Mike Joy. None of those people look like me. None of those people are black. Some of them are female, but none of them are black females. But now that NASCAR has shown that it's beginning to make changes, I have hope. It has banned the Confederate flag from being flown and plans on enforcing that ban. It has also given NASCAR members the freedom to kneel in peaceful protest to the national anthem, if they so choose. What saddens me is that it took all of that for me to feel confident in standing in this space today and speaking on it. That has nothing to do with NASCAR. It's just in general. It saddens me that I ever had to feel that way. However, I do see it as a step in the right direction. As long as NASCAR has that space to hold open for me, I'll be sure to stand in it. So, being a black female NASCAR fan will start to mean something a little bit different to me now. If NASCAR didn't have the support of the drivers that it did this week, or that if Bubba didn't have the confidence to stand up and really push for the message to be sent, I don't think I would have been able to feel as confident here standing today in front of you. I'm not going to go into the rants about all the drama that happened afterwards and the backlash, because that's something that the people that are giving that backlash are going to have to deal with. Just in the way that I had to deal with the Confederate flag and my feelings about that. Before NASCAR made that pause before the green flag at Atlanta, I had no clue what was going to happen. I was already in tears from the words that they shared with Bubba's text message from his mother. The national anthem hit different that day. I basically went to go lay down, and all of a sudden I just saw the field stop. And my jaw was on the floor by the time I figured out what was going on. I'm even choked up now thinking about it. I seriously cried to the point that I didn't even know what happened for the first few laps. Like, I was so overwhelmed with emotion. I never thought I would see the day, and I'm finally glad that I did. Another big thing is that I also have to talk about being a black female NASCAR fan that has two same-sex parents. Now, I bet you didn't know that. But I'm glad to see that NASCAR has also taken a stance on pride and participating in pride. I don't think that this is anything that NASCAR is doing for politics. I think this is something that NASCAR is doing to show its human side. And if you have a problem with that, then maybe you should take the time to reflect on your views in the same way that I did. I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's just a suggestion that you could take or leave behind. I feel like when I see I am NASCAR, I actually feel that now. I didn't think that, it was anything that was that serious when I first saw it at the beginning of the season. I thought it was pretty awesome. And I felt like they were trying to go for inclusion and making everybody feel like they were part of something. But I didn't feel that until this week. So thank you very much, NASCAR, And I continue to support you. Even if there's like a doubt in the back of my mind that this might be lip service, I really don't think that that's what this is. So I'll stand by your side and support you, and I'll stand in this space and hold it until the wheels fall off, right?
But if you don't like that kind of racing, don't even watch. Man, racing all